So yeah, today what we did was to create a map, or to help the young students to create maps, or any map of any countries that they would like to create, and most of them chose to create a map of their own country. Well, actually, we were creating the actual cartographic maps, or you would say geographic maps. And because in my artistic practice, I use maps as a way to remap certain histories and certain memories that might be forgotten or might not be recorded in the official narrative. So for these young people, mapping or reflecting their experiences through mapping is a way for them to learn how to think about their experience and their journeys, and also to put their thoughts together. Because, you know, as refugees, some of them might have gone through a very horrific journeys, and some of them have gone through different experiences. And for them to be able to be reflective and to put their thoughts together is not an easy task, because their mind might be like all over the place. You know, especially if you're in a circumstance where you are so uncertain about tomorrow, about what your future holds for you, it's very difficult to focus and to concentrate and to think about all these possibilities, or just to make sense of the experience and the journeys that you have just gone through. When you think about maps, people rely so much on a map's accuracy. We think a map should be very accurate and show you exactly how to get from point A to point B, or how, or to tell you the border of this country from the other country. But in reality, mapping is very subjective. It depends on who creates the map and for which purpose, and for whose purpose. So you have the 1916 Sykes and Picot Agreement, and you have that map that comes with that secret agreement. And what do we see? We see this straight line that goes across the Syrian desert that divided the Middle East by these two colonial powers, the French and the British. So now people look at a map of Syria now, and they see that border, they see that straight line that went through the desert, did not understand the story behind it. So for me, mapping is a way of revealing this history, this hidden history that might not be so clear or so straightforward to too many people. I mean, a lot of people don't really know history. You know, I'm Vietnamese-American, and by saying or by identifying myself as a Vietnamese-American already gives away that history of the Vietnam War, of the aftermath of the Vietnam War, where, you know, almost 2 million of Vietnamese people fled on boats, and some of us were able to make it to the first countries, the first world countries like the US or Europe. So that's the background. So we were refugees. You're right, because of my background, I have become more and more interested in this imposed political borders that divided people and nations. Borders can be very fictional, as most people would know already. As you have said, The Vietnam conflict has been a topic for a lot of critical studies and debate. However, the narratives that we often hear might not be the narratives that the people who were actually affected by this conflict would tell you, right? So you have the American version of the Vietnam conflict. You have South Vietnam's version of it. You have North Vietnam version of it. Now, the people who were affected by it, the casualties of the war, of this conflict, what is their version? In a lot of Hollywood movies, you mostly just hear the American voices. You hardly see or hear the Vietnamese voices. We were the extras, or we were the background people. We were running around the background, and where the heroes are American. So I mean, I'm just giving you as an example of how a narrative is being built, from which side of the story, or through whose filter. I mean, the people like, for example, my mother, who was a casualty of this conflict because her husband was captured during the war and put away for 14 years. I mean, what about her story? So this is when my artwork comes into play, that I want to use the art or artwork, or it could be just my work, to tell the different stories. My art practice is very interdisciplinary, so I don't see my artworks as just art. I've done so much more research than really creating the actual artwork. I am a research-based artist. I use research to fuel my practice, because without all these histories, without all these stories, there's no artworks for me. So I don't really discuss art in my work, but I discuss other issues that really matter to society. Like you have history, you have politics, now you have refugee issues. So, all these stories are the inspiration for me to create work. So I still consider myself a visual artist, but at the same time, I think I would love for my art to push beyond the realm of what art is, or what art can do. I don't give answers in my work. I don't say, well, this is the answer, that's the wrong story. But I would challenge the viewers in terms of questioning what the story really is, or whether there's truth to it, or there's other possibilities to this story. So I think a good artwork, or an artwork, a critical artwork, must be able to do such things, to raise such questions, because it's important not to take things for granted, and also to see things from different sides, not just hold on into like one side of the story.